I'm not sure how many of you have ever watched Postman Pat, but I can tell you that I used to be quite a fan of the show back when I was little. Growing older, I soon moved on to more exciting things, but try as I might, I still had a soft spot for the show, even in my adult years. Postman Pat doesn't really air often, if at all, these days where I am, so what little remains of the series now is on websites such as YouTube. One day I was browsing through YouTube and decided to take a look at some of these Postman Pat episodes, if only for the nostalgia value. To my surprise, one of the featured videos was Return to Sender, which showing a very bad quality, black and white image of Postman Pat and just a cat. Cool, a Postman Pat lost episode tape, I thought to myself. Knowing the craze in my eyes, deciding to check it out, I knew it was all well with these hoaxes and not too many creeped me out. Nevertheless, I looked forward to seeing what somewhat demented soul had done to my Postman Pat. To my surprise, when I clicked on the video, I noticed a abruptly long timer, 12 hours to be precise. This was absolutely unusual, but totally unheard of these more TV shows for a lost episode hoax tape. However, such as a long timer almost unheard of. There was no way I was going to sit for the entire 12 minutes, or 12 hours. I decided to watch as much as I could before I moved on. The video was in bad quality, black and white intro for the show, but the cheerful music was in reverse. Other than that, the intro remained the same and it soon cut to the beginning of the episode. The video showed Postman Pat standing outside of the house with Jess sitting on a blanket nearby. The bad quality still apparent, and Pat had a parcel in his hand, and there was nothing but to silence a good few minutes as Pat stared lifelessly at the parcel. Growing quickly bored of this, I clicked on another video, which played as normal as I began to dismiss Return to Sender. It was a really bad trolling attempt, but a bit bored idiot, having to see a few in my time. Then things started to get really weird. The video I was watching suddenly broke to static and changed it to a picture of Pat staring at the parcel in silence. The timer once again changing to 12 hours. I was absolutely awestruck at this impossible. Not even a virus could explain something like that. Quickly I closed the end window entirely, not wishing to continue any further. However, the window soon popped back up, and I found my mouse unable to work. Even using my keyboard did nothing, and the screen showed Pat staring at the parcel again, the 12-hour timer still counting down. I tried to switch my laptop manually off at this point, but the button just wouldn't work. It was at the edge of the image that had started to change. Then the video zoomed in on the parcel. The quality was still pretty bad, but I had to see the label on the parcel stamped Return to Sender. The video just remained focused on the parcel as I hear a sound of weeping growing louder and louder. The parcel dropped onto the ground in slow motion, and the sound of a cat hissing, then crying of pain could be heard in the background. The video kept on focusing on the parcel laying on the ground as images began to flash on and off on the screen. Pictures of cats, real in color, each image stayed on the screen for a few seconds before disappearing. They were really messed up. After a while this stopped and the video switched back to Pat, who was still standing in the space, staring at the parcel, which had somehow disappeared back in his hand. I noticed a basket that Jess was missing from the scene entirely. Pat opened up the parcel and broke down on the spot. Falling to his knees and covered his face, he wept horribly. The parcel once again falling to the ground, a small fuzzy paw poked out from inside, lifeless. The video ended up at that point, returning back. The 12-hour timer is still going on as my laptop finally switched itself off. To this day, I'm not sure what happened or what the video was in truth. I don't really think I want to know anyway. If you should see such a video on YouTube or other site, I advise you just to let it be. It's not worth it, you know? What they say, right? Curiosity killed the cat. And that, my little pretties, was Return to Sender, a Postman Pat lost episode creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story? A pretty good creepypasta, actually. This is actually a really good, lost episode pasta. And to be honest, this has actually been written, I think, in 2012 or 2013. And this was written like before creepypastas became, repetitive with cliches and that. Now, this is actually a pretty popular creepypasta, which I've seen, a couple narrations of this story. So I thought, you know what? I go ahead and, sit there and basically go ahead and, have a look at this story. This story is actually really well made in detail. I actually liked how this story went out. It's a pretty good creepypasta for what it is. It's a really well made in detail. It was amazing. There's definitely a lot of time and effort into the story. So I have to say, when I first saw this story, I actually really, really was surprised of how good this story is. Now, I know that this story was actually probably one of those pastas that I can't really describe, because here's the thing. I kind of remember watching Postman Pat back when I was a kid, and I'm sure maybe some of you guys probably remembered, no, well, reading Postman Pat when you were younger. You probably watched the show when you were younger. But to be honest, this episode was actually really well made in detail. Like, I like how everything went out of this story. It's a very believable concept. Like, the concept of it is just believable, and it's pretty messed up in detail, to be honest. I really do like how this was all going out. It's a pretty good, well-made story for what this is. I really have to say, when I first heard some narrations of it, this was actually looking like a pretty good pasta. Now, I'm actually gonna save this right now, that this story was pretty good. With the grammar and all that, the grammar is actually pretty good. Like, the grammar is really good. It has a lot of believability, and I could definitely see the author does know what he or she was doing. And to be honest, I actually was kind of thinking about, reading these stories because I actually found this story to be enjoyable. Now, I can't see anything that I don't like about this story, so I can't really say I can't find anything I don't like about this story. This story actually is very believable. It's really well made in detail. I really do find this story to be very fun to narrate, and it's really well done, like with the sentence structuring and even the grammar and the paragraph structuring. I've actually heard a lot of narrations about this story, and this one is actually pretty good. It's a pretty good creepypasta, actually. I really found this story to be, well, enjoyable. It's a very enjoyable story. It was definitely well made in detail. It definitely had a lot of time and effort into it. I really found this one to be, well, amazing and well done. So I definitely have to say that this story actually provided pretty good detail for what this one is. It's still a pretty good story, I'm not gonna lie. It's a really good, well-made story. There's definitely a lot of time and effort into it, and I really do like how this all went out. It's a pretty well-made creepypasta for what this one is. It's a really well-made story. I definitely have to say there's definitely a lot of time and effort into this story, so there's a lot of time and effort, so I really do like how this went out. It's a pretty good pasta. Now, I could definitely say that it was very disturbing, certain parts of the story, and I definitely have to say, a video going for 12 hours, like, look, I have seen some many videos that are like 12 hours long, or even, pretty damn long. Like, I'm not joking. Like, I've seen some videos who are like pretty long as well. So there's definitely not surprising. But a Postman Pat episode had lasted for 12 hours. Like, that's kind of insane. But at the same time, it just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like, there's no way an episode of it would be, 12 hours long unless there's like multiple episodes in one video. That'd be understandable, and that would make it believable. But in this matter, I was quite confused at that. But other than that, the story itself was actually pretty good in detail. It definitely has a lot of time and effort into this story. There's definitely a lot of, well, great concept to this. So I definitely have to say this story was actually pretty good. I definitely have to say this story was a pretty damn well made pasta. Definitely have to say. I definitely really do find this story to be enjoyable. There's definitely a lot of great concept with this episode. The whole thing of, the computer not turning off and all that, like, that's kind of one cliche I know, that, the laptop won't shut off, which that is usually, I usually count that as a cliche, but counting that this is, an older creepypasta, I'm kind of willing to give it a pass on that one. I'm kind of willing to give it a pass. I know it's still kind of a cliche, but still. I definitely have to say there's definitely a lot of time and effort into this story. So I definitely have to say to the author, whoever the author is, which I don't know who it is, but so since I don't know who the original author is, I'm going to leave this anonymous unless I find out who the original author of this story is. If I do find out who the original author is, I'll be sure to give him or her proper credit, because whoever he or she is that wrote this story, they did an awesome job with this story. I'm saying that now. They did a great job with this story. I really found this to be enjoyable. It's amazing. Absolutely wonderful. Great job to the author for reading this. This obviously was a pretty well made pasta. Definitely a lot of time and effort into it, and I really found this one to be quite enjoyable. So, I guess with that being the case, that being said, there's nothing really much I have to say about this, because, well, I kind of already went through it. So, yeah, it's still a pretty good story. Really do like it. So, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, this is just simply, like I'm going to say right now, and like I always continue to say, this is simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regarding these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this story would have to be I'm gonna give this one a 9 out of 10. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because the only thing I really was kind of confused more or less on was the fact that the video was like 12 hours long. And another thing I really have to say, it was kind of a little confusing too. So I guess I kind of decided, include that in, because there was one part of it that was quite confusing. I think that's how you put it. I don't really know how to put it more bluntly or something. But I'm going to sit there and just say that the only thing I kind of was bothered a little bit about it was the fact that the computer won't shut itself off when the person and the mouse and keyboard don't work. Like, that, how does that even happen unless it's, you're being hacked on the deep web? So if that was the case, that I can understand. But if it's not the case, then it just doesn't really make sense to me. I think that's just what it is to me. But anyways, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me now what your thoughts are down in the comments section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.